Jeannie was discovered at age 13, having spent her entire childhood locked in a room, tied to a potty chair, with almost no human contact or language exposure. Researchers worked with her intensively for years afterward. She learned vocabulary rapidly, but she never acquired grammar. Her case remains one of the most heartbreaking and scientifically significant in psychology because it showed that there is a window for language that, once closed, cannot fully reopen. Noam Chomsky revolutionized linguistics and psychology in the late 1950s by arguing that language cannot be explained by learning theory alone. Children acquire complex grammatical rules too fast, make errors that are too systematic, and produce sentences they have never heard for any amount of reinforcement or imitation to explain. Chomsky proposed that humans are born with a language acquisition device, a hypothetical brain mechanism pre-wired with the principles of universal grammar that allows children to rapidly extract the specific grammatical rules of whatever language surrounds them. Chomsky's concept of universal grammar proposes that beneath the vast surface diversity of the world's 7,000 languages, all human languages share a set of deep structural principles. All languages have nouns and verbs. All have ways of expressing negation, questions, and causation. Children around the world reach language milestones in the same sequence at roughly the same ages regardless of which language they are learning, suggesting that the developmental timeline is biologically driven rather than culturally determined. The critical period hypothesis proposes that there is a window of time, roughly from birth through puberty, during which language acquisition occurs with relative ease and completeness. Before and during this window, the brain's plasticity allows it to absorb language naturalistically, without explicit instruction. After the window closes, acquiring a first language or achieving native-level mastery of a second language becomes dramatically more difficult. Jeannie's case, and dozens of similar cases of late-exposed children, provides devastating evidence that the critical period is real and that its closure has permanent consequences. At around 4 to 6 months, infants begin producing repetitive consonant-vowel combinations like ba and da-da-da, the babbling stage. Critically, babbling is universal. Infants from every language community produce virtually identical sounds during this stage, regardless of what language surrounds them. Even deaf infants who receive no auditory input begin babbling, and deaf infants exposed to sign language babble manually, moving their hands in repetitive patterned motions. This demonstrates that babbling is driven by an internal maturational program, not imitation. Around 12 months, most children produce their first recognizable word, the one-word or hollow phrase stage. A hollow phrase is a single word that carries the communicative weight of an entire sentence. When a toddler says milk, they may mean I want milk, or I spilled my milk, or there is milk on the floor. Context disambiguates the meaning. First words are almost universally content words, nouns referring to people, objects, and actions in the child's immediate environment, not abstract or grammatical words. Between 18 and 24 months, children begin combining two words in a stage characterized by telegraphic speech, utterances that contain only the essential content words while omitting grammatical function words. Daddy go, more milk, big dog. Like a telegram that charges by the word, telegraphic speech strips away all but the essential meaning-bearing units. Despite their brevity, these two-word utterances reveal genuine syntactic knowledge. Children reliably place agents before actions and actions before objects, reflecting the word order of their native language. As children build vocabulary, they make systematic errors that reveal the logic of how they are constructing categories. Overextension occurs when a child uses a word to refer to a broader category than the word actually covers, calling all men daddy or all four-legged animals dog. Underextension is the opposite, using a word more narrowly than it should apply, calling only the family-specific dog by the word dog and not recognizing other breeds as the same category. Both patterns show that children are actively building conceptual categories, not simply imitating words they hear. Jeannie's case provided the most direct human evidence for the critical period. When she was discovered, she had essentially no language. With intensive instruction, she acquired vocabulary rapidly, demonstrating that at least some language-related learning could occur post-puberty. but she never acquired normal grammatical competence. She could not use consistent word order, could not form questions grammatically, and never developed the recursive sentence structures that are characteristic of fully acquired language. Her vocabulary was that of a language learner. Her grammar remained permanently disordered. One of the most consistent findings in second language research is the accent difference between early and late learners. Children who acquire a second language before puberty almost invariably achieve a native-sounding accent in that language. Adults who acquire a second language after puberty almost never achieve a native accent, regardless of how much time, effort, or instruction they invest. The phonological component of language, the sounds and prosody, appears to be the most tightly constrained by the critical period, more so than vocabulary or even grammar. B.F. Skinner argued in his 1957 book Verbal Behavior that language is acquired through operant conditioning, imitation, and reinforcement. Chomsky's devastating 1959 review demolished this account. Children produce sentences they have never heard and could never have been reinforced for producing. They make grammatical errors that follow consistent rules no one taught them, like overgeneralizing the past tense to produce goed and braked instead of went and broke. The sheer creativity and systematicity of child language acquisition exceeds what any learning theory based on imitation and reward can explain. Language is the most uniquely human capacity, and the evidence suggests it is partly hardwired, with a developmental window that, once closed, cannot be fully reopened. The child who learns language effortlessly in the first decade of life is exploiting a biological endowment that evolution spent millions of years building. Understanding the critical period is understanding one of the deepest things about what it means to be human.